So I go to the cinema a lot. Like, a lot. As in, I've been to see 27 films at the cinema already this year, and it's only March. 28 if you include seeing Into the Spider-Verse for the second time. So, I get a lot of ads before the movies, because I'm the kind of person who sees the time, it starts at 6, get there at 6, even though that means I've got to sit through 20 minutes of adverts, and I know every time. But one that I've been getting recently is this one for a short film made by Ridley Scott called The Journey that he made for Turkish Airlines. And it ends with a little tag, why not go and check out the full film? And I thought, you know what? I will. So I went and I found it on YouTube. And basically it's a 6-minute long short film that's an advert for Turkish Airlines in Istanbul. And the story of the movie is basically this woman who's like a private detective or something like that is following another woman, first on the plane, and then through various different locations in Istanbul, and then onto another plane again at the end. The only issue with that is you don't really know who the person she's following is or why she's following her, you just know that she is. It makes it not very interesting when you don't have an idea of what the stakes are, because you just dropped in right in the middle of it. But then she goes around the different locations, and you don't really get enough time spent at any of them to get an idea of what they're like, because it's only 6 minutes long, and it's trying to squeeze in quite a few different things while also trying to have this story. So it's a bit of a disconnected mess, really. And knowing that Ridley Scott directed it doesn't help. It doesn't make things better. Knowing that there's this acclaimed director behind it, it's still just an ad, But I did like the subtle attempts they have to try and, slip things in. She's watching the woman on the plane, and as she's watching her, you can see the stewardess going past with, tray of drinks, going would you like some orange juice, cranberry juice, apple juice? And I was like, hey, what a full selection of drinks that they have on Turkish airline flights. Then, when she's pursuing her through the city, the private detective, she gets a bike from one of those rental bike things and rides it across and says, oh, hey, Istanbul has a good selection of rental bike stations that I could use. And at one point she follows her into a mosque, and it's this big, beautiful, ornate building, and literally the private detective just stops and goes, whoa. So I kind of liked things like that, where they were trying to be, in certain places, a little more subtle with, hey, you should come and check out this thing while you're in Istanbul. But at the same time, it's an ad, so subtlety doesn't really play. None of this made me want to go and visit Istanbul, is what I'm saying. But while I was looking this up, I found that this went one deeper, because Ridley Scott also made an ad for Hennessy Cognac. And this ad was definitely more interesting than The Journey. It's a lot of weird, trippy visuals, and the idea is it's meant to be Hennessy sends your tastes on an odyssey through 7 different things, and it's not a very cohesive story, but in the way that a lot of ads for things like alcohol or cars or whatever are, in that it's meant to be a bit pretentious and weird, and you're not fully meant to know what it is you're watching an ad for until it gets to the end and it goes, hey, this was an ad for this cognac the whole time. And that's fair enough, and that Ridley Scott did a really good job of making these visuals look really striking and interesting, and whoever the animators were, because I looked in the description of the video and they don't credit the animators when so much of this thing is animation heavy, which is credit your animators. So yeah, I'd say that as an ad, this one was better, and kind of as a short film, it's a little better because it's at least just being trippy and weird and having fun with it. But at the same time, it's still not great. But I wouldn't say that I'm making this video as any kind of, I can't believe that Ridley Scott of all people did this kind of a thing, because Ridley Scott got his start working in adverts. He made a bunch of adverts back in the 70s. So it is actually interesting to see a big talent like that coming back into this totally different landscape of advertising now. And he does kind of fit in with this world where all the ads have to be weird, interesting, unique. You have to do something to stand out. you can't just simply say, hey, look at this product, here's what it does anymore.
You mean just say what the product does? Well, no one's ever tried that.
You have to be like telling people short emotional journeys or whatever. You know, the McDonald's ad has to have a kid coming to like his stepfather because they both eat McDonald's or something. And so it makes sense, actually, to get someone who makes films and short films to come in and make one of these. I just wish he'd made kind of better ones. If you want to see a good piece about the changing nature of advertising and where that's all going and the kind of the progressive narrative of a lot of advertising now, then I would recommend checking out H Bomber Guy's video, Woke Brands, which I'll put up there. I'm also wearing my H Bomber Guy How Do You Beat Beaver Bother t-shirt today because it just came yesterday. And this is unintentionally, this video has been the biggest ad for H Bomber Guy I could possibly have done. Trans rights. Okay. But yeah, I find it interesting that they say that, on the descriptions of these videos, they're not ads, they're short films. And that creates a kind of weird disconnect from it, because it's an advert. You know that this has been funded by Turkish Airlines and by Hennessy. You know that they are doing this purely to try and convince you to use their product. But at the same time, they're trying to pass it off as a story with an emotional core, or an experience for the senses, or whatever. And I feel like that limits its ability as an ad, but also knowing that it's an ad limits your ability to get invested in any of the emotions of the short film. So it's kind of this weird double-edged sword where the two of them counteract each other and they don't work. And I think this is just an interesting little thing to look into. To examine the state of our current advertising market is fascinating, I think, because it has changed so much so quickly, and it's only going to constantly be in flux. And I do wonder if these ads getting Ridley Scott in will lead to more similar things. Give me Guillermo del Toro's ad for mattresses or something. I want to see some real talent getting behind this advertising idea. Give me Martin Scorsese advertising pasta sauce. Give me that. That's all I need in this world. And I really don't begrudge Ridley Scott for getting into this. I'm sure there might be some people out there who'll be saying that he's a sellout for going and doing ads, but he's really not. It's not selling out to make money doing the thing that you like to do. Oh, by the way, I have a Patreon now. That was my planned segue that I think went pretty well. Yeah, I made a Patreon account where basically, if you like my content and if you have disposable income that you feel willing to give me for it, you can pledge monthly amounts to me. It can be as little as $1 a month, and that will gain you early access to videos. There'll be hopefully some exclusive content. There's other rewards tiers on there. The link for that will be all the places that links go. There's absolutely no obligation, obviously, for anyone to do this. You will still get content from me on this channel as long as I am making it. It's just that if you sign up on the Patreon, you'll get it a little earlier, and you'll get some probably exclusive stuff too, once I figure out what that is. I'm being realistic and knowing that not many people are going to support it at the level I'm at. I'm only at 181 subscribers while I'm recording this, and I know that probably no one's going to go for it, but I figure the worst that can happen is I continue to make no money doing this. So, yeah, if you would like to, check out my Patreon. The links are everywhere that links go. Click up here to subscribe, and then over here there's more videos by me. I guess that's it. Was this bit 20 seconds? Oh, God. Trans rights. Okay.